his uncle's wife. Minho's hand froze on the champagne glass the moment he learned the truth. The beautiful woman with sad eyes he'd just spent an hour falling for on that Miami balcony belonged to Dae-sung, the cruelest man in their Korean crime family. "You're married," he'd said when he first noticed her ring, and she'd whispered, "Yes," like an apology. But he never imagined her husband was the monster everyone feared, the uncle who brutalized anyone weaker than himself. Now, Minho understood why she'd run when her phone exploded with 7 missed calls, why that faint bruise peeked from under her sleeve, why her eyes held so much pain. He should walk away, forget her, protect himself. But when he closed his eyes, all he saw was her desperate hope, like he was her only chance at freedom, and Minho knew with absolute certainty that he was about to start a war with his own family, because no power on earth could make him forget the woman who'd made him feel alive for the first time in his life. Hit subscribe and tell us where you are watching from, because this is going to take you on a journey. The champagne glass was halfway to her lips when another hand closed around it. Yasmin looked up, startled, into the darkest eyes she had ever seen. The young man holding the other side of the glass was young, maybe late 20s, with sharp features and black hair styled perfectly back from his face. He wore an expensive black suit that fit him like it was made just for his body, but it was his stare that made her heart skip. Intense, curious, like he could see right through her. "I believe I had this first," she said, trying to sound confident even though her pulse was racing. A slow smile spread across his face. "I believe we both reached for it at the same time. That makes it fate, don't you think?" His voice was smooth with a slight accent that made her stomach flip. Yasmin knew she should let go of the glass. She knew she should walk away. But something about this stranger made her fingers stay exactly where they were, barely touching his. "I don't believe in fate," she lied. "Then believe in champagne," he said, his smile growing wider. "We could share it." The ballroom of the Miami hotel glittered around them with crystal chandeliers and hundreds of wealthy guests. Yasmin had planned this entire event, every flower arrangement, every menu item, every perfectly placed candle. She was supposed to be working, making sure everything ran smoothly. Instead, she was standing here, unable to look away from this beautiful stranger. "I'm working," she finally managed to say. "The party is perfect. Everyone is happy. You can take 5 minutes." He gently took the glass from her hand and grabbed another from a passing waiter. He handed her the fresh one. "Now, we each have our own. Problem solved. I'm Minho." "Yasmin." She took a sip, needing something to calm her nerves. "Yasmin," he repeated, like he was tasting her name. Beautiful name for a beautiful woman. She almost laughed. "That's a very old line." "It's only a line if it's not true." Minho stepped closer and she caught his scent. Expensive cologne mixed with something else, something dangerous. "Tell me, Yasmin, why does someone so lovely look so sad?" Her breath caught in her throat. She had practiced her smile for years, perfected the way she held her face so no one would see the truth. How did this stranger see through her so easily? "I'm not sad. I'm just tired. Event planning is hard work." "You're lying." His voice was soft but certain. "I've been watching you all night. You move through this room like a ghost. You smile at everyone, but the smile never reaches your eyes." Yasmin's hand trembled slightly. She wanted to run. She wanted to stay. She wanted to tell this stranger everything, which was crazy because she had just met him. "You shouldn't say things like that to people you don't know," she whispered. "Then let me get to know you." Minho touched her elbow, just the lightest pressure, and guided her toward the balcony. The Miami night air hit her face, warm and salty from the ocean. The party noise faded behind them. They were alone under the stars. "This is better," he said. "Too many people in there, too many fake smiles." Yasmin leaned against the railing, looking out at the city lights. "What brings you to Miami, Minho?" "Business, family business." Something dark crossed his face. "Not the kind I enjoy, but the kind I'm expected to handle. I understand that. Doing things because you have to, not because you want to." He moved beside her, close enough that their arms almost touched. "What would you do if you could do anything? If nothing was holding you back?" The question hit her like a punch. When was the last time anyone asked her what she wanted? When was the last time she even let herself dream? "I'd travel," she said quietly. "I'd see the world. Paris, Tokyo, Egypt. I'd take pictures of everything and fill a whole house with memories." "Why don't you?" "Because life doesn't work that way. We don't always get what we want." Minho turned to face her fully. "Maybe we don't ask for it hard enough." Before she could answer, he reached out and tucked a loose curl behind her ear. His fingers brushed her cheek, and electricity shot through her whole body. She should step back. She should remember her place, remember her life, remember the ring on her finger. But she didn't move. "You're married." His eyes had found her wedding band, a heavy platinum thing that felt like a chain. "Yes." The word came out like an apology. Happily. His gaze locked with hers, challenging her to lie. Yasmin opened her mouth, but no sound came out. The truth was too dangerous. The truth could get her killed. Minho's jaw tightened like he understood her silence. "He hurts you." It wasn't a question. Somehow, this stranger knew. Maybe he saw the way she flinched at sudden movements. Maybe he noticed how she kept her left arm close to her body, protecting the bruise hidden under her long sleeve. "I should go back inside," she said, but her feet wouldn't move. "Not yet." Minho's hand covered hers on the railing. His touch was warm and gentle, nothing like the rough grabs she was used to. "Stay? Just for a few more minutes. Pretend you're free. Pretend you're in Paris or Tokyo or anywhere but here." Something broke inside her chest. Maybe it was hope. Maybe it was desperation. But Yasmin stayed. They talked as the party continued without them. Minho told her about growing up between two worlds, trying to honour his family while wanting something different. Yasmin shared tiny pieces of herself, careful not to reveal too much, but unable to stop completely. He made her laugh with stories about terrible business meetings. She made him smile when she described the crazy requests from spoiled clients. An hour passed like minutes. "I haven't felt this relaxed in years," Yasmin admitted, then immediately wished she could take it back. "Then see me again." Minho's voice was urgent. "Tomorrow. Lunch. Anywhere you want." "I can't. Can't or won't." "Both. Neither. It's complicated." "Complicated is just another word for scared." He took both her hands now, holding them gently. "I'm scared too. I'm scared I'll leave this balcony and never see you again. I'm scared I'll spend the rest of my life wondering what could have happened." Yasmin's phone buzzed in her clutch, violent and demanding. She pulled it out with shaking hands. 7 missed calls. All from him. Her blood turned to ice. "I have to go, right now." Panic climbed up her throat. "Yasmin, wait!" Minho grabbed her wrist, not hard but firm. "Give me your number, some way to reach you." "You don't understand. I can't. He'll know. He always knows." She pulled free and ran back into the ballroom, her heels clicking frantically on the marble floor. Minho followed her inside, but she had already disappeared into the crowd. He stood there, fists clenched, feeling like something precious had just slipped through his fingers. "Quite a beauty, isn't she?" A voice spoke behind him in Korean. Minho turned to see one of his father's associates, an older man with a knowing smile. Who is she? Minho asked, trying to sound casual. That's Yasmin. She plans all the big events in Miami. Very talented, very expensive. The man leaned closer, also very married to Dae-sung. The name hit Minho like a bullet. Dae-sung! My uncle Dae-sung! The very same. Poor girl. Everyone knows he treats her terribly, but no one dares interfere. You know how your uncle is. Minho knew exactly how his uncle was. Violent, controlling, cruel to anyone weaker than himself. His father's younger brother had always been the family monster, the one everyone feared and no one challenged, and now that monster had Yasmin. Rage and something deeper, something almost like destiny, flooded through Minho's chest. He walked to the balcony railing where they had stood, together, and gripped the metal until his knuckles turned white. The woman with the sad eyes belonged to his uncle. The woman who made him feel alive for the first time in years was trapped in a nightmare, and somehow, some way, Minho was going to set her free, even if it destroyed his family, even if it cost him everything. He pulled out his phone and made a call. I need you to find out everything about a woman named Yasmin. Everything. I want to know where she goes, who she talks to, and every single thing about her marriage. Minho stared out at the Miami skyline, his reflection dark in the glass. The game had just begun. Minho stood in the back of the art gallery, pretending to admire a terrible painting of a boat. His eyes were locked on Yasmin across the room as she directed workers hanging decorations for tomorrow's charity auction. She wore a cream-coloured dress that hugged her curves, and her natural hair was styled in an elegant updo. She was even more beautiful than he remembered. 3 weeks had passed since the hotel party. 3 weeks of watching her from a distance, learning her schedule, finding excuses to be wherever she was. His men had given him all the information he needed. Yasmin worked almost every day, planning events for Miami's wealthiest families. Her husband rarely attended these events, preferring to spend his time at underground gambling clubs and with his mistresses. Dae-sung only showed up when he wanted to remind Yasmin who owned her. The lighting needs to be warmer. Yasmin called to a worker on a ladder. We want the artwork to glow, not look like it's in a hospital. Minho smiled. She was bossy when she worked, confident and in control, nothing like the frightened woman who had run from him on that balcony. He walked toward her slowly, hands in his pockets, trying to look relaxed even though his heart was pounding. When he was close enough, he spoke. The boat painting in the corner is awful. Who would pay money for that? Yasmin spun around, and her clipboard clattered to the floor. Her eyes went wide when she saw him. What are you doing here? She whispered, looking around frantically to see if anyone was watching them. I'm interested in art. Is that a crime? He bent down and picked up her clipboard, letting his fingers brush hers as he handed it back. You need to leave. If anyone sees us talking, if anyone tells him... Tells him what? That you spoke to a potential client? I'm thinking about buying some pieces for my office. Minho stepped closer, lowering his voice. I've been thinking about you every single day since that night. Don't. Her voice cracked. Don't say things like that. Why? Because they're true. He wanted to touch her face, pull her close, but workers moved all around them. Have coffee with me. Just coffee. 1 hour. I can't. You keep saying that word. I don't think you know what it means. His eyes searched hers. Tomorrow morning, the cafe on Ocean Drive, 8:00. If you don't come, I'll understand, but I'll be there waiting. Before she could answer, he turned and walked away, leaving her standing there with her clipboard pressed against her chest. The next morning, Minho sat at a corner table in the cafe, watching the door. 7:55, 7:58. 8 o'clock came and went. His coffee grew cold. 8:15. She wasn't coming. At 8:20, the door opened and Yasmin rushed in, slightly out of breath. She wore jeans and a simple blue top, sunglasses covering half her face. She looked around nervously before sliding into the seat across from him. "I can't stay long. I told him I was meeting a flower vendor." "Then we won't waste time." Minho pushed a fresh cup of coffee toward her. "Cream, no sugar. Am I right?" A small smile touched her lips. "How did you know?" "I pay attention." He leaned forward. "I know you take your coffee that way. I know you bite your bottom lip when you're thinking. I know you're left-handed. I know you deserve so much better than what you have." Yasmin removed her sunglasses, and Minho's chest tightened with anger. A faint purple bruise marked her cheekbone, barely covered by makeup. "He did that to you." It wasn't a question. "I dropped a glass. It made him angry." She said it like it was normal, like she deserved it. Minho's hands curled into fists under the table. "You could leave him." "And go where?" "Do what?" "He owns this city. He has connections everywhere. The one time I tried to leave, his men found me in 2 hours." She took a shaky sip of coffee. "You don't understand how powerful he is." "I understand perfectly. He's my uncle, remember?" Minho's voice was hard. "I know exactly what kind of monster he is, which is why I'm going to help you." "You can't. It's too dangerous, for both of us. Let me worry about the danger." He reached across the table and covered her hand with his. "I haven't been able to stop thinking about you, not for 1 second, and I don't think I'm alone in feeling this way." Yasmin's eyes filled with tears. "You're not alone. But feeling something doesn't change reality. I'm trapped, Minho. There's no way out. There's always a way out. We just have to be smart." He squeezed her hand gently. "See me again. Let me prove I'm serious." She pulled her hand back, but he could see the war happening behind her eyes. Want versus fear. Hope versus reality. "One more time," she finally whispered. "But that's all. Then you have to forget about me." Minho smiled. Impossible. Their secret meetings became a dangerous habit. Coffee turned into walks along South Beach when Daesung was out of town. Walks turned into long phone calls late at night when Yasmin locked herself in the bathroom, speaking in hushed tones while water ran in the sink to hide her voice. "What's your favourite food?" Minho asked one night, lying in his hotel bed in the dark. "Soul food. My grandmother's fried chicken and collard greens. I haven't had a home-cooked meal in years." Yasmin's voice was soft and sad. "What about you? Korean barbecue, the kind my mother used to make before she passed away. We'd sit around the table for hours, just eating and talking. I'm sorry about your mother. I'm sorry about your grandmother. I'm sorry about everything you've lost." Minho closed his eyes. "But I promise you'll have it all back someday. The food, the freedom, the happiness, all of it." "You can't promise that." "Watch me." 2 months after their first meeting, Minho followed Yasmin to New York. She was planning a wedding for a famous singer at a Manhattan hotel. He checked into the same hotel, just 3 floors above her room. The wedding was beautiful. Yasmin had outdone herself with white roses and crystal everything. Minho watched from the crowd as she coordinated a team of 20 people, making sure every detail was perfect. When the reception finally started and her job was done, he texted her, "Rooftop, 10 minutes." He waited in the cold November air, wondering if she would come. The city spread out below him, millions of lights in the darkness. Then the door opened and there she was, wrapped in a coat, her breath making small clouds in the freezing air. "This is crazy," she said, but she was smiling. Crazy is all I have left. Minho pulled her close, and for the first time, she didn't resist. She fit perfectly against his chest, her head tucked under his chin. They stood like that for a long time, just holding each other, not speaking. Words felt too small for what was happening between them. "I'm falling in love with you," Minho said into her hair. "I know it's too fast. I know it's impossible, but it's true." Yasmin pulled back to look at him, and tears streaked down her face. "I'm already in love with you. I've been fighting it, but I can't anymore." He wiped her tears with his thumbs, cradling her face in his hands. Then, "Stop fighting." When their lips met, it felt like the world stopped turning. The kiss started gentle, almost careful, like they were both afraid of breaking something precious. But then, Yasmin's hands slid into his hair, and Minho pulled her tighter against him, and gentle became hungry. He kissed her like he was drowning and she was air. She kissed him back like she had been waiting her whole life for this moment. Their mouths moved together, tasting, exploring, claiming. Minho's hands roamed down her back, feeling the curve of her waist, the softness of her body. Yasmin made a small sound in her throat that drove him wild. "Come to my room," he breathed against her lips. "I shouldn't." "I know. Come anyway." She hesitated for only a second before taking his hand. They barely made it through his hotel room door before they were kissing again. Harder this time, more desperate. Minho backed her against the wall, his body pressed against hers, their hands everywhere at once. He kissed her neck, that sensitive spot below her ear, and she gasped. "We should stop," Yasmin whispered, but her fingers were unbuttoning his shirt. "Do you want to stop?" His lips travelled down to her collarbone. "No. God, no." He lifted her easily and her legs wrapped around his waist. They moved to the bed, a tangle of clothes and racing hearts and whispered promises. Minho took his time, memorizing every inch of her, showing her with his hands and mouth what words couldn't express. Afterward, they lay tangled together, Yasmin's head on his chest, his fingers drawing lazy circles on her bare shoulder. "What happens now?" she asked quietly. "Now we figure out how to keep you safe, how to get you away from him." Minho kissed the top of her head. "I'm not letting you go back to that life. He'll kill us both if he finds out. Then we make sure he doesn't find out. Not yet. Not until I have a plan." Minho tilted her chin up to look at him. "Do you trust me?" Yasmin searched his eyes, and whatever she saw there made her relax. "Yes, I trust you." Her phone buzzed on the nightstand, shattering their peaceful moment. Dae-sung's name flashed on the screen. The real world came crashing back. "I have to go," Yasmin said, panic creeping into her voice. "He's back from his trip early. If I'm not home..." Minho held her tighter for just a moment before releasing her. "This isn't over, I know." She kissed him one last time, soft and sweet and full of sorrow, but it might have to be. She dressed quickly and disappeared through the door, leaving Minho alone with the lingering scent of her perfume and a burning determination. He would free her from his uncle's grip, whatever it took, however long it took. The war had begun. The beach house sat on a cliff overlooking the Pacific Ocean, miles away from anyone who might recognize them. Minho had rented it under a fake name, making sure every detail was perfect. White curtains billowed in the warm California breeze. The sound of waves crashing against rocks filled the air. It was paradise, and for 3 whole days, it belonged only to them. Yasmin stood on the deck, watching the sunset paint the sky in shades of orange and pink. She wore a simple white sundress that showed off her shoulders, and her hair blew freely in the wind. Minho watched her from the doorway, struck by how different she looked here, relaxed, happy, free. "It's so beautiful," she said without turning around. "I could stay here forever." "Then let's stay." Minho walked up behind her and wrapped his arms around her waist, pulling her back against his chest. "We could disappear, start a new life where no one knows us." Yasmin leaned into him with a sigh. "You know we can't. Your family needs you, and he would hunt me down no matter where I went. Not if he couldn't find you. Not if I made sure of it." Minho buried his face in her neck, breathing in her scent. "I'm tired of hiding, tired of pretending I don't love you more than anything in this world." She turned in his arms to face him, her hands sliding up his chest. "We have 3 days. Let's not waste them talking about him." Minho cupped her face and kissed her slowly, savouring the taste of her lips. The kiss deepened, and Yasmin's fingers tangled in his hair, pulling him closer. When they finally broke apart, both breathing hard, the sun had dipped below the horizon. "I'm nervous," Yasmin admitted quietly. "In New York, everything happened so fast, but now, here, with all this time, we have all the time in the world. There's no rush." Minho took her hand and led her inside. "Let me make you dinner, something my mother taught me." In the kitchen, he cooked Korean short ribs, while Yasmin sat on the counter, watching him work and sipping wine. He told her stories about learning to cook as a boy, how his mother insisted that a man should be able to feed himself and the people he loved. Yasmin shared memories of her grandmother's kitchen, the smell of cornbread baking, the sound of gospel music playing on old radio. They ate dinner on the deck under the stars, their knees touching under the small table. The food was delicious, but neither of them could focus on eating. The air between them practically crackled with electricity. "Dance with me," Minho said suddenly, standing and holding out his hand. "There's no music." "We don't need music." Yasmin let him pull her to her feet, and they swayed together slowly, their bodies pressed close. Minho's hands rested on the small of her back. Yasmin's arms looped around his neck. They moved in silence, lost in each other, the ocean providing its own rhythm. "I've never felt like this before," Yasmin whispered against his chest. "Safe. Wanted. Like I matter." Minho pulled back to look at her. "You matter more than you know. You're everything, Yasmin, everything." He kissed her again, and this time there was no hesitation. His hands roamed down her sides, feeling the curve of her hips through the thin fabric of her dress. Yasmin's fingers worked at the buttons of his shirt, desperate to feel his skin against hers. Minho lifted her easily, and she wrapped her legs around his waist as he carried her to the bedroom. He laid her gently on the bed, taking a moment to just look at her in the moonlight streaming through the window. "You're so beautiful it hurts to look at you," he said, his voice rough with emotion. Yasmin reached for him, pulling him down to her. "Then stop looking and touch me." Their clothes disappeared slowly, each piece revealing more skin to explore and worship. Minho kissed every inch of her, his lips trailing fire across her shoulders, down between her breasts, along the soft curve of her stomach. When he found the faint scars and old bruises left by his uncle's cruelty, he kissed those too, as if he could erase the pain with tenderness. Yasmin's breath came in short gasps as his hands mapped her body, learning what made her sigh, what made her arch against him. When he finally settled between her thighs, looking down, at her with dark, hungry eyes, she pulled his face down for a deep kiss. "I love you," she breathed against his lips. "I love you so much. I love you too. Always." Minho entered her slowly, carefully, watching her face for any sign of discomfort. But Yasmin only moaned softly, her nails digging into his shoulders as she adjusted to him. They moved together, like they had been made for this, for each other. Minho kept his pace slow and deep, wanting to draw out every moment, every sensation. Yasmin matched his rhythm, her hips rising to meet his, their bodies speaking a language older than words. "Look at me," Minho commanded softly. "I want to see your eyes." Yasmin's gaze locked with his, and the intimacy of it nearly broke her. This wasn't just physical. This was souls connecting, two broken people becoming whole together. Tears streamed down her cheeks, but they were happy tears, overwhelmed tears. Minho kissed them away, his movements becoming more urgent as they both climbed higher. "That's it, baby. Let go. I've got you." When release finally crashed over them, they held each other tight, trembling, gasping each other's names like prayers. Afterward, Minho gathered Yasmin against his chest, pulling the blanket over their cooling bodies. "That was," Yasmin started, but couldn't find the words. "I know." Minho kissed her forehead. "Sleep now. We have tomorrow." The next 3 days passed like a dream. They made love in the morning with sunlight streaming across the bed. They swam naked in the private pool, laughing and splashing like children. Minho cooked breakfast while Yasmin sat wrapped in his shirt, stealing kisses between bites of eggs and fruit. In the afternoon, they walked along the beach, holding hands and talking about everything and nothing. Yasmin told him about her dreams of opening her own event planning company, one where she called all the shots. Minho shared his plans to transform his family's business into something legitimate, something he could be proud of. "When this is all over, when you're free, I'm going to marry you," Minho said as they sat on the sand watching waves roll in. "A real wedding, with everyone we love there. I'll put a ring on your finger that actually means something." Yasmin smiled sadly. "That sounds like a fairy tale." "Then let's make fairy tales real." He pulled her into his lap, wrapping his arms around her from behind. "I'm serious, Yasmin. I'm going to find a way to get you out. My uncle's time is running out." That night, they made love again, slower this time, savouring every touch and kiss like it might be their last. Minho worshipped her body with his hands and mouth, bringing her to the edge again and again before finally letting her fall. When Yasmin returned the favour, exploring his body with curious hands and lips, Minho thought he might lose his mind from pleasure. Later, as they lay tangled together in the dark, Yasmin traced patterns on his chest. "What if we can't make this work? What if the danger is too great? Then we'll face it together. I'm not letting you go back to him without a fight." Minho caught her hand and brought it to his lips. "Trust me, I have a plan forming. It's going to take time, but I will free you." On their last morning, reality felt too close. Yasmin packed her bag slowly, trying to memorize every detail of the beach house, wanting to hold on to this feeling of peace and happiness. Minho came up behind her and wrapped his arms around her waist. "This isn't goodbye. It's just see you soon." "When?" Her voice broke. 2 weeks. There's an event in Chicago. I'll be there." Yasmin turned in his arms, pressing her face against his chest. "I don't know how to go back to pretending, back to being his property. Not after this." "You're not his property. You never were. You're mine, and I'm yours." Minho tilted her chin up. "Be strong a little while longer. Can you do that for me?" "I'll try." They kissed one last time, pouring all their love and fear and hope into it. When they finally pulled apart, both had tears in their eyes. The drive to the airport was silent. Minho held her hand the entire way, his thumb rubbing circles on her palm. At departures, they had to separate. She was flying back to Miami. He was heading to Los Angeles for business. "I love you," Yasmin said through the car window. I love you more. Stay safe. And Yasmin? Minho waited until she looked at him. Start documenting everything he does. Every bruise, every threat, every crime. We're going to need evidence. She nodded and walked into the airport without looking back, knowing if she did, she would run back to him and never leave. Minho watched until she disappeared into the crowd, then pulled out his phone and made a call. It's time. I need everything you have on Dae-sung. Every dirty deal, every illegal transaction, every enemy he's made. I'm taking him down. His uncle had made one critical mistake. He had hurt the woman Minho loved, and for that, Dae-sung would pay with everything he had. The countdown had begun. Dae-sung had always been a careful man, paranoid by nature. It was how he survived in a world where trust could get you killed. So when his wife started smiling at her phone, when she began humming while she worked, when she stopped flinching quite so hard at his touch, he noticed. Yasmin was changing, and Dae-sung wanted to know why. He started following her himself instead of sending his men. He watched her meet clients, plan events, handle vendors. Everything looked normal on the surface, but something felt wrong. A husband always knew when his wife was keeping secrets. One afternoon in their Las Vegas penthouse, while Yasmin was in the shower, Dae-sung went through her purse. He found receipts from cities she had never mentioned visiting, coffee shops, restaurants, hotels. His jaw clenched as he dug deeper, searching for proof of what he already suspected. Then his fingers closed around a small, velvet box hidden in the zippered pocket. Inside was a delicate gold necklace with a small pendant shaped like an airplane, the kind of gift a man gave to a woman he cared about, the kind of gift that meant something. Rage exploded in Dae-sung's chest like a bomb going off. When Yasmin emerged from the bathroom, wrapped in a towel, her hair dripping wet, Dae-sung was standing in the middle of the bedroom, holding the necklace. "What is this?" His voice was deadly quiet. Yasmin's face went pale. "It's just a necklace. A client gave it to me as a thank you gift." "Don't lie to me." Dae-sung crossed the room in 3 strides and grabbed her arm hard enough to leave marks. "What client? What's his name? You're hurting me. I'll do worse than hurt you if you don't tell me the truth." He shook her violently. "Who gave you this? Who have you been seeing?" "No one. I swear it was just a client who was happy with my work." Yasmin tried to pull away, but his grip was iron. Dae-sung's other hand came up and connected with her face, sending her sprawling to the floor. The towel came loose, leaving her exposed and vulnerable. "You think I'm stupid? You think I don't know when my own wife is cheating on me? I'm not cheating." Yasmin scrambled backward, tasting blood in her mouth. "Then why are you lying?" He advanced on her, pulling his belt free from his pants. "I gave you everything. A home, money, status. And this is how you repay me?" The first strike of the belt made Yasmin scream. The second and third drove the air from her lungs. She curled into a ball, trying to protect herself. But Dae-sung was beyond reason. Years of suspicion and jealousy poured out in violence. "Please stop," Yasmin sobbed. "Please." "Who is he?" Dae-sung demanded between strikes. "Tell me his name." "There's no one. I swear on my life." Finally, exhausted and still unsatisfied, Dae-sung threw the belt aside. He crouched down and grabbed Yasmin's face roughly, forcing her to look at him. "I'm going to find out the truth, and when I do, I'll kill him. Then I'll kill you. Understand?" Yasmin could only nod, tears streaming down her bruised and swollen face. Dae-sung stood and kicked her in the ribs for good measure. "Clean yourself up. We have a family dinner tonight, and you're going to smile and pretend everything is perfect. If you embarrass me in front of my family, what happened today will feel like a massage." He left the room, slamming the door behind him, Yasmin lay on the floor for a long time, her body screaming with pain, her mind racing. She needed to warn Minho. If Dae-sung was suspicious, it was only a matter of time before he discovered the truth. And when he did, they would both die. With shaking hands, she found her phone and sent a single text. He knows something. Be careful. That evening, Yasmin stood in front of the bathroom mirror, trying to cover the worst of the bruises with makeup. Her ribs ached with every breath. Her lip was split and swollen. But she painted on a smile and put on a long-sleeved dress that hid the marks on her arms. The family dinner was being held at the penthouse. Dae-sung wanted to show off his wealth and power to his brothers and their wives. Yasmin played the perfect hostess, serving food, refilling drinks, laughing at jokes that weren't funny. She didn't notice Minho arrive until she turned around and found him standing in the living room, staring at her with barely controlled fury. Their eyes met across the crowded space, and Yasmin saw murder in his gaze. He had seen through her makeup. He knew what had happened. "Nephew!" Dae-sung called out, walking over to clap Minho on the shoulder. "I didn't expect you in Vegas this week. Business or pleasure?" "Business." Minho's voice was cold. "I needed to speak with you about the shipment from Seoul. There's been a problem. Always problems." Dae-sung laughed, but his eyes were sharp. "Come, let's talk in my office. Actually, I need to speak with your event planner first. I'm hosting a party next month and need her expertise." Minho looked directly at Yasmin. "Do you have a moment?" Yasmin's heart hammered in her chest. This was dangerous. Too dangerous, but she nodded and followed Minho out onto the balcony. The moment they were alone, Minho pulled her into his arms, his hands gentle despite his anger. "What did he do to you?" "It doesn't matter. It matters to me. Show me." When she hesitated, his voice turned pleading. "Please, Yasmin, I need to see." With trembling fingers, she pulled down the collar of her dress, revealing the bruises on her shoulders and collarbone. Minho's entire body went rigid. "He found the necklace," Yasmin whispered. "He's suspicious. You need to stay away from me before he figures out it's you." "I'm not staying away from anything." Minho's hands curled into fists. "I'm ending this tonight." "No, he'll kill you. He'll kill both of us. He's going to kill you anyway if you stay with him." Minho cupped her face carefully, avoiding her bruises. "I have enough evidence to destroy him. Bank records, witness statements, everything. I'm taking him down tonight, and you're coming with me." Before Yasmin could respond, the balcony door slammed open. Dae-sung stood there, his face twisted with rage and something worse, understanding. "It's you." His voice was barely human. "My own nephew. You're the one putting your hands on my wife." Minho stepped in front of Yasmin, shielding her with his body. "She's not your wife. She's your prisoner. But not anymore." "You think you can take what's mine?" Dae-sung reached behind his back and pulled out a gun, pointing it directly at Minho. "I should kill you right now. Go ahead. Pull the trigger." Minho didn't flinch. "But the moment you do, every family elder will receive an email with proof of every crime you've committed. Money laundering, drug trafficking, murder, all of it." Dae-sung's hand wavered slightly. "You're bluffing. Try me." Minho pulled out his phone and held it up. "One click, and your life is over. You'll spend the rest of your days in prison if the family doesn't execute you first for bringing heat down on all of us." The two men stared at each other, tension crackling in the air like lightning about to strike. Through the glass door, Yasmin could see other family members noticing the confrontation, starting to gather. "You want her that badly?" Dae-sung laughed bitterly. "She's damaged goods, used up. Nothing special. She's everything." Minho's voice was steady, "And I love her. Something you never understood how to do." Yasmin felt something break loose inside her chest. Every year of fear, every moment of pain, every dream she had buried. She stepped out from behind Minho, standing tall despite her injuries. "I'm leaving you, Dae-sung." Her voice was stronger than she expected. "I never loved you. I was never yours. You bought me like property, but you can't own a person's soul." Dae-sung's face contorted with rage. He swung the gun toward Yasmin. "If I can't have you, no one will." Everything happened at once. Minho lunged forward, trying to knock the gun away. The balcony door burst open, and Minho's father rushed out with 2 other family elders. Someone screamed. The gun went off, the sound deafening in the night air. Yasmin felt a burning pain in her shoulder and stumbled backward. Minho caught her before she fell, lowering her gently to the ground. Blood spread across her dress, dark and wet. "No, no, no." Minho pressed his hand against the wound, trying to stop the bleeding. "Someone call an ambulance." Dae-sung stood frozen, the gun still in his hand, staring at what he had done. Minho's father moved quickly, disarming his brother with a sharp twist that sent the weapon clattering across the balcony. "You shot her!" Minho's voice was pure ice. "You actually shot her." "She deserved it. They both deserve it." Dae-sung struggled against his brother's grip. "She's mine." "She was never yours." Minho's father looked at his brother with disgust. "And now you've signed your own death warrant." Minho barely heard them. His entire focus was on Yasmin, on keeping her conscious, on willing her to survive. "Stay with me, baby. Help is coming. Just hold on. It's okay." Yasmin's hand came up to touch his face, leaving a streak of blood on his cheek. "I'm not afraid anymore. Don't you dare give up. Don't you dare leave me." Tears streamed down Minho's face. "We're supposed to get married, remember? We're supposed to have forever." "Forever," Yasmin whispered, her eyes starting to close. "No, Yasmin, stay awake." Minho shook her gently. "Look at me. Keep your eyes open." Sirens wailed in the distance, growing louder. Red and blue lights flashed across the buildings. Help was coming, but would it be fast enough? Minho held the woman he loved in his arms, her blood soaking into his clothes, and made a silent vow. If she survived this, nothing would ever separate them again, and his uncle would pay for every drop of blood, every tear, every moment of pain. The war was over. Now came justice. The safe house sat on a quiet street in Seattle, surrounded by tall pine trees and hidden from prying eyes. Rain tapped steadily against the windows, creating a rhythm that should have been peaceful. But Minho couldn't relax. Not while Yasmin was still recovering. Not while his uncle still drew breath as a free man. "You're pacing again," Yasmin said from the couch where she sat wrapped in blankets. Her shoulder was bandaged, healing slowly but surely. 3 weeks had passed since the shooting. 3 weeks of hiding and planning and waiting. Minho stopped and looked at her. Even pale and injured, she was the most beautiful thing he had ever seen. "I can't help it. I hate waiting. Come sit with me." She patted the cushion beside her. "You're making me nervous with all that walking back and forth." He crossed the room and settled carefully next to her, pulling her against his side. She winced slightly, and guilt stabbed through him. "I'm sorry. Did I hurt you?" "No. I'm just sore. Stop apologizing for things that aren't your fault." Yasmin tilted her head up to kiss his jaw. "How did the meeting with your father go?" "Good. Better than good, actually." Minho's hand stroked her arm gently. "He's on our side. He never liked Dae-sung, but family loyalty kept him quiet. Now that my uncle shot you in front of witnesses, that loyalty is broken." "What about the other elders?" "They're listening. My father is respected, and so is his judgment. But I need to present my case perfectly. One mistake, and Dae-sung could turn this around on us." Minho's jaw clenched. He's claiming you seduced me, that you're a gold digger who manipulated his innocent nephew. Yasmin laughed bitterly. Of course he is. He can never accept responsibility for anything. No one believes him, not after they saw what he did to you. Minho pressed a kiss to the top of her head. In 2 days, we present everything to the full family council, all the evidence I've gathered, bank records showing money he stole from family accounts, testimony from people he hurt, photos of what he did to you over the years. Will it be enough? It has to be. Minho turned her face toward him, his thumb brushing across her cheek. Because I'm not spending another day of my life without you being free. Yasmin's eyes filled with tears. What if something goes wrong? What if he finds a way to hurt you? Then you run. My father will protect you, get you somewhere safe. Minho wiped away her tears. But nothing is going to go wrong, I promise. You can't promise that. Watch me. He kissed her then, slow and sweet, pouring all his love and determination into it. Yasmin's hand came up to cup his face, her fingers trembling slightly. When they broke apart, both were breathing harder. I want you. Yasmin whispered. Is that crazy? With everything happening, I just want to feel close to you. You're still healing. I'm fine. The doctor said gentle activity was okay. She shifted to straddle his lap carefully, wincing only a little. Please, Minho. I need to feel alive. I need to remember what we're fighting for. Minho's hands settled on her hips, holding her steady. If I hurt you, you tell me immediately. I will, I promise. They undressed each other slowly, Minho being extra careful around her injured shoulder. He laid her back against the couch cushions, his body covering hers gently, taking his weight on his arms so he wouldn't press on her wound. I love you, he murmured against her lips. More than anything in this world. Show me. Yasmin pulled him down for a deeper kiss. Their lovemaking was tender and slow, more about connection than passion. Minho moved inside her carefully, watching her face for any sign of pain. But Yasmin only sighed with pleasure, her good arm wrapping around his neck, holding him close. You feel like home, she breathed, like every place I've ever wanted to be. Minho buried his face in her neck, overwhelmed by emotion. You are my home, the only one that matters. They moved together, building slowly toward release, whispering promises and love words. When they finally fell over the edge together, it felt like a vow being sealed, forever, no matter what came next. Afterward, Minho carried Yasmin to the bedroom and tucked her under the covers. He held her while she slept, watching the rain streak down the windows, mentally preparing for the battle ahead. 2 days later, Minho stood in a private room in a downtown Seattle hotel, facing 12 family elders seated around a long table. His father sat at the head, his face carefully neutral. Dae-sung sat on the opposite side, flanked by his lawyers, looking smug and confident. We're here to address serious accusations, Minho's father began. My son claims his uncle has committed crimes against this family and against an innocent woman. Dae-sung, you will have a chance to defend yourself, but first, we listen to the evidence. Minho stepped forward, his heart pounding but his voice steady. He had prepared for this moment for months. Everything depended on what happened in the next hour. Honoured elders, thank you for hearing me. He bowed respectfully. I know I'm young. I know challenging a senior family member is serious, but the evidence speaks for itself. He opened his laptop and projected documents onto the screen behind him. Bank statements showing transfers of millions of dollars from family accounts into Dae-sung's private holdings. Text messages arranging drug deals that violated family policy. Photos of weapons shipments that were never reported to the council. Over the past 5 years, my uncle has stolen approximately $8 million from our organization, Minho stated. He's conducted business with Colombian cartels without approval. He's murdered 3 people who threatened to expose him, including a federal witness. Murmurs rippled through the room. The elders leaned forward, studying the documents with sharp eyes. "These are lies!" Dae-sung jumped to his feet. "Fabricated by a boy who wants power, who was seduced by my wife and now seeks to destroy me." "Sit down," Minho's father commanded. "You'll have your turn." Minho continued, his voice growing stronger. "There's also the matter of Yasmin. My uncle forced her into marriage when she was 21 and in debt from medical bills. He held that debt over her head and abused her for 6 years. He pulled up photos on the screen, images of Yasmin's bruises over the years, taken secretly and stored carefully. Medical records from emergency room visits, a police report she had filed once and then withdrawn under pressure. The room fell silent. Even the hardest elders looked disturbed. "This woman is your wife," one elder said to Dae-sung. "You are supposed to protect her, not brutalize her. She's disobedient, disrespectful." Dae-sung's face was red with anger. "A man has the right to discipline his household. Not like this." Another elder shook his head. "This is not discipline. This is torture." Minho delivered his final blow. 3 weeks ago, my uncle shot Yasmin in front of multiple witnesses because she refused to remain his property. He attempted murder. There's no defense for that. "She was sleeping with you," Dae-sung shouted. "With my own nephew. She dishonored me. I love her," Minho said simply. "And she loves me." "Yes, we began a relationship while she was still married to you, but that doesn't excuse attempted murder. That doesn't excuse years of abuse and theft and betrayal." The elders conferred in low voices. Minutes stretched into an eternity. Finally, Minho's father spoke. "We've reached a decision. Dae-sung, you are stripped of all positions within this family. Your assets will be frozen and audited. You will grant Yasmin an immediate divorce with no conditions, and you will enter a guilty plea to assault charges, serving a minimum of 5 years in prison." "You can't do this!" Dae-sung lunged across the table, but his lawyers held him back. "I'm family. I have rights." "You lost those rights when you stole from us, when you endangered this organization with your reckless deals, when you shot an innocent woman." Minho's father's voice was ice. "Be grateful we're not ordering your execution. That was the other option on the table." 2 security guards entered and took Dae-sung by the arms. He struggled, screaming threats and curses. But they dragged him from the room. The moment the door closed, Minho's knees nearly gave out. His father stood and walked over, placing a hand on his shoulder. "You did well, son. Your mother would be proud." "Thank you, father, for supporting me." "That woman must be very special for you to risk everything." "She is. She's my whole world." His father smiled slightly. "Then go to her. Tell her she's free." Minho didn't need to be told twice. He ran from the hotel, drove through Seattle's rainy streets, breaking every speed limit, and burst through the safe house door. Yasmin stood in the kitchen making tea, and she spun around at the sound. "What happened?" "You're free." Minho crossed to her and lifted her into his arms, spinning her carefully. "He's finished, stripped of power, going to prison, and granting you a divorce. It's over, Yasmin. It's finally over." Yasmin burst into tears, clinging to him. Really? It's really over. Really? You never have to see him again, never have to be afraid again. Minho set her down and cupped her face. You're mine now, only mine, if you'll have me. If I'll have you? Yasmin laughed through her tears. I'm never letting you go. They kissed deeply, desperately, celebrating their victory. Minho lifted her and carried her to the bedroom, laying her down gently. Let me love you properly, he murmured against her skin. No more hiding, no more fear, just us. They made love with a freedom they had never felt before. Every touch was a promise, every kiss was a celebration. When they finally collapsed together, exhausted and happy, the rain had stopped, and sunlight broke through the clouds. What happens now? Yasmin asked, tracing patterns on his chest. Now we start our forever. Minho kissed her forehead. Tomorrow we go back to Miami and start planning the life we want. Together. No more running. Together. Yasmin agreed, smiling wider than she had in years. Outside, a rainbow stretched across the Seattle sky. The storm had passed, and everything beautiful waited on the other side. The Hawaiian sun felt like a blessing on Yasmin's bare shoulders as she stood in front of the floor-length mirror. White silk draped elegantly over her body, the dress a perfect blend of modern style and traditional grace. Her natural hair was styled in beautiful twists, pinned up with delicate flowers. She looked like a dream, like the woman she was always meant to be. You're glowing, her cousin Tanisha said, adjusting the train of the dress. I've never seen you this happy. I've never been this happy. Yasmin touched the pendant around her neck, the little airplane Minho had given her so long ago. She wore it every day now, a symbol of how far they had travelled together. 6 months had passed since that rainy day in Seattle. 6 months of healing, growing, and building the life they had always dreamed about. Dae-sung was behind bars. His empire crumbled, his name spoken with disgust by the family he had betrayed. The divorce had been finalised in record time. Yasmin was truly free. A knock sounded at the door, and Minho's father entered, looking distinguished in his traditional Korean hanbok. He had asked for the honour of walking Yasmin down the aisle, since her own father had passed years ago. The guests are ready. My son is ready, though he's pacing like a nervous boy. He smiled warmly at Yasmin. You have given him something I thought he would never find. Peace, purpose, true happiness. Tears threatened to ruin Yasmin's makeup. He's given me the same thing. Everything, really. Then let's not keep him waiting any longer. The ceremony took place on a private beach at sunset, with waves rolling gently onto white sand. Chairs were arranged in a half-circle, filled with family and friends from both their worlds. Korean lanterns hung from palm trees, alongside colourful fabric that reminded Yasmin of her grandmother's church. 2 cultures coming together, just like the bride and groom. Music began to play, a beautiful blend of traditional Korean instruments and African drums. Yasmin stepped onto the sand, and her breath caught when she saw Minho waiting at the altar. He wore a black tuxedo that fit him perfectly, but his eyes held all her attention. They were bright with emotion, locked on her like she was the only person in the world. As she walked toward him on his father's arm, she watched a tear slide down his cheek. When they finally stood face to face, Minho took both her hands in his. You're the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. You're not so bad yourself, she whispered back, making him smile. The officiant spoke about love conquering all obstacles, about 2 souls finding each other across impossible odds. But Yasmin barely heard the words. She was lost in Minho's eyes, in the feeling of his hands holding hers, in the absolute certainty that this was exactly where she belonged. Do you, Minho, take Yasmin to be your wife, to love and cherish, to protect and honour, For all the days of your life? I do. With everything I am. His voice was strong and sure. And do you, Yasmin, take Minho to be your husband, to love and cherish, to stand beside and support for all the days of your life? I do, forever and always. They exchanged rings, simple platinum bands engraved with each other's names. When the officiant finally said, "You may kiss your bride," Minho pulled Yasmin close and kissed her like they were the only two people on earth. The guests cheered and clapped. Someone released white doves that flew across the orange and pink sky. But Minho and Yasmin kept kissing, celebrating this moment they had fought so hard to reach. The reception was a joyful chaos of music, dancing, and laughter. They cut a cake that had both traditional Korean rice cakes and southern red velvet. They performed a traditional Korean bow to Minho's father, then danced to Motown classics with Yasmin's relatives. Two worlds, one celebration, perfect harmony. As the party continued into the night, Minho pulled Yasmin aside. "Ready to escape? I thought you'd never ask." They slipped away, while everyone was distracted by the fireworks display Minho had arranged. A private car waited to take them to their honeymoon suite, a villa on the far side of the island with its own beach and complete privacy. The moment they stepped inside, Minho lifted Yasmin into his arms, making her squeal with surprised laughter. "What are you doing?" "Carrying my wife over the threshold. It's tradition." He kissed her as he walked through the doorway, then continued carrying her straight to the bedroom. The room was breathtaking. Rose petals covered the bed. Candles flickered everywhere. The doors were open to the ocean, and moonlight spilled across the floor. Minho set Yasmin down gently, his hands moving to the zipper of her dress. "I've been waiting all day to unwrap my present. Technically, you're supposed to wait until midnight. I've waited 6 months to make love to my wife. That's long enough." He slid the zipper down slowly, his lips following the path of newly exposed skin. "Besides, it's our wedding night. We can make our own rules." The dress pooled at Yasmin's feet, leaving her in white lace that made Minho's breath catch. "You're trying to kill me. Is it working?" She reached up and loosened his tie, then started unbuttoning his shirt. "Absolutely." Minho captured her mouth in a deep kiss, his hands roaming over her body like he was memorizing every curve. But what a way to go. They tumbled onto the bed in a tangle of limbs and laughter. Minho took his time, kissing every inch of her skin, whispering how much he loved her, how perfect she was, how lucky he felt. Yasmin returned every touch, every kiss, pouring all her joy and gratitude into loving him. When they finally came together, it felt different than all the times before. This wasn't stolen or hidden or dangerous. This was theirs, completely and openly, husband and wife, forever. "I love you, Mrs. Park." Minho murmured against her neck as they moved together. "I love you too, Mr. Park." Yasmin arched beneath him, gasping with pleasure. "So much it scares me sometimes." "Don't be scared. I'm never letting you go." He captured her mouth in a searing kiss as they climbed higher together. Their release crashed over them at the same moment, and they held each other tight, trembling and gasping each other's names. Afterward, they lay tangled together, watching the moon reflect off the ocean through the open doors. "What are you thinking about?" Minho asked, his fingers drawing lazy circles on her hip. "How different my life is now. A year ago, I was trapped and hopeless. Now I'm married to the man I love, about to start my own business, completely free." Yasmin turned to look at him. "You saved me." "We saved each other." Minho kissed her forehead. "You gave me a reason to be better, to want more than just following in my father's footsteps." They made love twice more that night, each time finding new ways to express their joy. When they finally fell asleep as the sun rose, they were wrapped around each other, complete and content. The next week passed in a blur of happiness. They swam in crystal clear water, ate amazing food, made love on the beach under the stars. They talked about their future, making plans and dreaming together. "I want to expand my business to other cities," Yasmin said one afternoon as they lounged by their private pool. "Maybe eventually franchise it, turn it into something really big. You'll be amazing at it. You're the best event planner I've ever seen." Minho pulled her closer on the lounge chair. "I'll support you however I can." "What about you? What do you want?" "Honestly, I want to transform the family business into something completely legitimate. Real estate, restaurants, hotels, things we can be proud of." He paused. "And I want a family, with you. Maybe 2 or 3 kids running around our house, driving us crazy." Yasmin's heart swelled. "I want that too. Not right away, but someday soon. We have all the time in the world." Minho kissed her deeply. "No more running, no more hiding, just us, building the life we want." 3 months after the wedding, they moved into a stunning home in San Francisco's Pacific Heights neighborhood. The house had huge windows overlooking the bay, a gourmet kitchen where Minho loved to cook, and enough space for the family they hoped to have. Yasmin launched her event planning company, calling it Phoenix Rising Events. Within 2 months, she had booked 10 major clients. Her reputation for creativity and attention to detail spread quickly. Minho transformed his role in the family business, cutting ties with anything illegal and investing in legitimate ventures. His father was proud. The other elders respected his vision. Every morning, Minho woke Yasmin with coffee and kisses. "Good morning, beautiful. Ready to conquer the world today?" Every night, they cooked dinner together, shared stories about their day, and fell asleep in each other's arms. They travelled to Paris, where Yasmin took 1,000 pictures just like she had dreamed. They visited Tokyo and stayed in a traditional inn. They explored Egypt and rode camels by the pyramids. Every adventure brought them closer, added another memory to their collection. One evening, 6 months after the wedding, they sat on their deck, watching the sunset over San Francisco Bay. Yasmin's head rested on Minho's shoulder, his arm wrapped protectively around her. "Do you ever think about how we started?" she asked. "That night on the balcony when we were both so lost?" "All the time. Best night of my life, even though I didn't know it yet." "Mine too." Yasmin tilted her face up to kiss him. "Thank you for not giving up on me, on us. Never. You're my everything, Yasmin. My heart, my home, my reason for everything." Minho pulled her into his lap. "I'm going to spend the rest of my life making sure you know how cherished you are. You already do. Every single day." They kissed as the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in brilliant colours. Their love story had started in darkness, in danger, in desperation. But it had bloomed into something beautiful and strong and unbreakable. 2 broken people had found each other and become whole. A Korean Mafia heir and the woman he loved against all odds. Their forever had finally begun, and it was more beautiful than either of them had ever imagined. Want more stories about love conquering impossible odds? Like and subscribe for more emotional romance tales that will keep you on the edge of your seat. Comment below which part was your favourite.